Namaste, friends. Namaste, and very happy New Year to all of you. Namaste. Greetings to all of you. Happy New Year to all of you. Namaste. Greetings to all. We will start our new year with the topic of SVÂDHYAYA today. Let us do the invocation chant first. Om. शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। यस्याद्विरदवक्त्राद्याः पारिषद्याः परशतम् वेघ्नन्निघ्नन्ति सततम् विश्वक्सेनन्तमाश्रये। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे। पुण्डरीकासनासीनं पाण्डुराभ्रेन्दुसन्निभम् अखण्डबोधजनकम् हयग्रीवमुपास्महे। गुरुभ्यस्तद्गुरुभ्यश्च नमो वाकमधीमहि वृणीमहे च तत्राद्यौ दम्पती जगतां पति। श्रीनगर्यां महापुर्यां ताम्रपर्ण्युत्तरे तटे श्रीतिन्त्रिणे मूलधाम्ने षठकोपाय मङ्गलम्। नीलातुङ्गस्तनगिरितटे सुप्तमुद्बोध्य कृष्णम् पारार्त्यं स्वं श्रुतिशतशिरः सिद्धमध्यापयन्ति। स्वोच्छिष्टायां सृजनिगलितया बलात्कृत्य भुङ्क्ते गोदा तस्यै नम इदमिदं भूय एवास्तु भूयः। जयतु जयतु नाथो न्यायतत्त्वप्रणेता जयतु जयतु योगी योगगुह्यप्रवक्ता जयतु जयतु साक्षात् तत्त्वदर्शी महर्षिः जयतु जयतु भक्तेर्मूलकन्दं मुनीन्द्रः। स्वाधयन्निह सर्वेषां त्रय्यन्तार्थं सुदुर्ग्रहम् स्तोत्रायामास योगीन्द्र तं वन्दे यामुनक्वया। यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मां व्यामोहितस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्य कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्तां सदा हृदि। श्रीकृष्ण ब्रह्मतन्त्रोत्तम गुरु करुणावाप्तचक्रङ्क भाष्यम् वैराग्याचारवार्धौ वरद पदमुखे लक्ष्मणे न्यस्तभारम् श्रीवागीशात्ततुर्यं शठरिपुयतिराट् वेदचूडार्यमूर्तिम् नूत्नं श्रीरङ्गनाथं कलिरिपुमनघं ब्रह्मतन्त्रं श्रयामः। श्रीमन्नूतनरङ्गनाथयतिराट् आप्तात्मविद्यालयम् श्रीमन्नूतनलक्ष्मणार्ययतिराट् सम्प्राप्ततुर्याश्रमम् श्रीवासेन्द्रकटाक्षसन्ततसुधा लक्ष्यात्मयोगाश्चितम् श्रीमन्नूतनवागधीशयमिनं भक्त्याश्रयामो गुरुम्। श्रीकृष्णवागीशयतेश्वराभ्यां सम्प्राप्तचक्राङ्कणभाष्यसारम् श्रीनूत्नरङ्गेन्द्रयतौ समर्पितस्वं श्रीकृष्णमार्यं गुरुवर्यमीडे। विरोधे कार्तिके मासे शतताराकृतोदयम् योगाचार्यं कृष्णमार्यं गुरुवर्यमहं भजे। शिष्यकं कृष्णमार्यस्य नाथवंशप्रदीपकम् कल्याणगुणरूपं तं श्रीदेशिकं नमाम्यहम्। प्रशान्तपुरुषाकारं विनियोगप्रचारकं विशेषवैदिकं सूरिं तन्देशिकं स्मराम्यहम्। लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Namaste, friends. Namaste. We are very happy to see you all on this wonderful new year, 2025. Hope this year brings a lot of good things for you. Please remember, we live our life by choice, not by chance. So all the things that we attract in our life, or we the opposite of attract, we reject or we push away, is basically because of the choices that we make in our life. If we are not making the right choice or refuse to make the right choice, then we cannot blame the universe or others for our issues. So make good choices this year and stick with those good choices so that all good auspicious things will come to your life. So having said that, let us start now with our discussion on SVÂDHYAYA. SVÂDHYAYA is the fourth niyama, which is um, a very, very important niyama as well. SVÂDHYAYA represents what we call as self-inquiry or self-exploration or self-discovery. It comes from the two parts, swa plus adhyaya. The word adhyaya means to know, to realize, to have an understanding of something. And the word swa means oneself, our own self. We are having a realization of oneself. So the question comes that, well, if swadhyaya is to know oneself, how is it a practice? Well, that is the practice, to inquire about the true nature of ourself. This is the term swadhyaya, to inquire. So let's look at the different ways through which we can practice swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is often practiced in the following ways. In the traditional way that Swadhyaya is practiced, it is through what is called as mantra japa. Swadhyayaha swashaka adhyayanam pranavadi pavitra mantra japova. Vyasa, in the commentary of the Yoga Sutra, which is the first ever commentary on the Yoga Sutra, he says that Swadhyaya is through the practice of auspicious mantras like Pranava mantra. So mantra japa practice. That's why I always encourage people to practice mantra in their asana practice, in their pranayama practice. So if you are not yet doing that, please start to do mantra in asana and pranayama practice, or the practice of adhyayana, chanting, chanting of sacred texts or scriptures. Now, many of you may have your own sacred scriptures in your tradition. This is also something that you can study, because those scriptures will hold certain truths for you because it comes from your ancestry. But at the same time, if you are interested, you can also do chants from other traditions, because sometimes much more easier for us to take something that is farther than that is nearer, because what is near sometimes has some what do you call, residues of traumas, because it is often related with what is close to us. So this is one of the ways through which we can practice Swadhyaya, through certain mantras. And in the Vedic tradition, we are given what is called a spiritual mantra. A spiritual mantra is given to each of us through our Acharya. And we need to practice this mantra through a proper procedure. And this procedure helps us to come closer and closer to who we are. And this is something that I can say personally for myself has been the greatest gift of Swadhyaya, which is the practice of mantra. I have been very lucky and privileged to have been initiated by my own father many, many years ago. And for many years, I did not practice that mantra. But in 2022, actually, I started again the practice of this mantra. And these past 2 years have been very, very fascinating for me. Journey has been amazing. And it has brought me closer and closer to who I am. And in a certain way has helped me realize what is my true nature and what is my purpose of this life. And that's why I am very strong advocate of mantra japa practice as a part of Swadhyaya. And I certainly hope that many of you will find a way towards mantra practice in a serious way, because it can have great and profound effect. Like for me, if it has happened in the last 2 years, imagine what it can do in 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. So this is something that I'm myself going to explore. I'm very curious of what it will do to me in the next years. So this is why it is very important. But the important thing is, that's why Vyasa uses the word pranavadi pavitra mantra japaha. He says that we have to do auspicious mantras, because there are also tantric mantras that are not auspicious, that are usually mantras that are used sometimes to do black magic and things like that, and they are not considered clean or spiritually clean mantras, and they can create certain uh, dark forces in us, towards us, and then we are in trouble. We are not really in the Swadhyaya path. That's why he is so particular. He uses the word pranavadi pavitra mantra japova. Pavitra mantra means clean mantras, clean, spiritually clean mantras. That means they are not tantric in nature. So I would suggest very strongly to all of you who are interested, please seek a very auspicious acharya who can initiate you into the clean mantras. You need to request to be initiated, and the acharya may put certain tests to you. And the important thing is, it is not something that you are wanting or desiring. You need to merit it, you need to inherit it, which means you need to show the attitude that you are a good student. If you can show the attitude that you are a good student, then the mantras come more and more close to you. Whereas if you act from a place of entitlement, that, hey, I want this mantra, I pay you so much money, no true acharya will actually do that. So that's the first and the most, let's say, important way to practice Swadhyaya. But of course, as I say, we may not all be open to it, or we may not have access to it. And I certainly hope that some of you will choose this path. I am very grateful that I have got this blessing. I hope some of you will take that blessing. But in order to receive grace, you need to be ready to receive grace. You need to have the right attitude to receive grace. You cannot have entitled, egoistic attitude to receive such grace. So please have that in your heart, and take the right steps. Mantras will come close to you, and the door to Swadhyaya will open. Now, the second method that is taught traditionally through to do Swadhyaya is what in modern time we will call as mentoring or counseling, what we call in our tradition Upadesha. It means to sit close to our teacher, to have the proximity to our teacher, and have open conversations, like heart to heart conversations, not just intellectual diarrhea that most people engage with nowadays. People engage with a teacher as an information source, and they just want to collect information. My father used to call such students collectors. They were just collecting information from, and sometimes they would jump from one source to another to another. They were just collecting information, and sometimes they would collect certificates as well, because they would go to many teachers and ask for certificates. You would call them collectors. That's not Upadesha. Upadesha is a very deep teaching where there is a heart to heart teaching, where you are very close to your teacher, you are very close to your student, and there is a guidance or a mentoring or a counseling, that we can call it today, a mentoring that is happening over a long period of time. In the ancient time, it was between the acharya and the shishya, the student and the teacher. Nowadays, we can call it between the mentor and the student. It is also a very healthy and effective way to have Swadhyaya. But for this, there are two prerequisites. One is the open heart to heart connection, and the other is regularity. It is very important to maintain a regular connection with the teacher and the student. And in our tradition, in the Vedic tradition, I mean, or in all Asian traditions, I know that this is true even in Buddhism, in Jainism, and in all these Eastern traditions. The onus of responsibility is with the student to seek the teacher, rather than the teacher to say, hey, your class is due, your class is due. It's the student who has to say, I would like to have a class. And even if this teacher was quite busy, we have to keep sustaining this request. I myself do the same with my Acharya now, who is 94 years old. Not only is very, very busy, but he's also very, very, I mean, his energy is very low and weak, some because he's getting old. So I keep asking again and again, despite this. So in the hope that I will get frequent interactions with him, and I'm very lucky to have the regular interactions that I have with him, and I'm very, very grateful for this. So the responsibilities with the students. So again, if you have a mentor and if you believe in this mentoring process, you need to take the effort to have regular meetings. This is one thing, and make sure that these meetings are not wasted, but rather it is a heart to heart connection. I always believe, my dear friends, this kind of students who are only seeking information from their teachers are like alcoholics seeking alcohol. If essentially the alcoholics, what do they get? They get wasted. They get wasted because they drink too much alcohol. In the same way, intellectual students, they get wasted because they just get wasted in information. It's just too much information, no transformation. It's just waste intellectual diarrhea. And this is something that has to be avoided at all costs. Now, the third method of Swadhyaya is also we can adopt in modern time is what I would call as something similar to meditation or self-reflection. This is also something that I have started to do every day. And even if you are able to do a few minutes each day, that is fine. Even a few minutes each day is enough. So typically what I do is in the morning when I wake up, rather than just immediately go to the mobile phone and check who is messaged and who is not messaged, or which email has come, which email has not come, first thing I do is I turn on my Italian coffee pot, to make the coffee. It's very old school, so it takes about 7 minutes for it to boil my coffee. So those 7 minutes I sit in my couch. I have a wonderful couch in my living room. I sit there and I do the self-reflection. I talk I do 3 or 4 things in this time. One is I offer gratitude for all that I have. Then I meditate on what the day was before and try to recollect all the dreams that I had that night if there was something that I can remember. And third thing I reflect about is what are the important things that I have to do today. So it only takes about 6, 7 minutes. And but that time seems long when you're doing it. It seems long because in this state, when you get there, time disappears. Time becomes very flexible. The 6, 7 minutes seems very long. And uh, I know my coffee machine makes the alarm and it makes the sound that the coffee is ready. That sound comes and the smell changes. I know it's time for my coffee. So even that 6, 7 minutes every morning, that's precious. So if you can do that once a day. If you can do that twice a day, that's even better. Once in the morning and once in the evening, if you can do, where you can offer all the gratitude and grace that you have for all the good things that happened that day. What were the challenging moments of that day? What are the good things of that day? What you can learn from that day and what you need to prepare for the next day. You can do the same in the evening time and before you eat or before you go to sleep or something like that, so that this also becomes a moment of self-reflection. This is what I feel many of us lack today, because in modern society we are always busy, busy, busy. We are working, working, working. We keep saying that we don't have time for these things, but I really feel if we cannot afford those minutes for ourselves, then we have no hope for ourselves. Nobody can save us if we can't give time for ourselves. So this is what I also would consider the third path of Swadhyaya, is the process of meditation or self-reflection. I would call it self-reflection. Make time for yourself. Switch off from everything else, from all distractions, and just give 5-10 minutes for yourself each day, it is worth it, my dear friends. It is definitely worth it. Now, an extension of that, is what we can call as journaling. If some important things are happening, you can also write in a pen, using a pen and paper. You can actually write, and I think this is something that is also very good, because over a period of time, you can actually start to see what were those profound thoughts and feelings that you had over a period of time. I also do that. I don't do it every day, but I do it whenever I have a symbolic a dream or some profound, important experience that I have. I always do that. And here's my notebook. And I always do it with pen and paper. And it's not just because I love pen and paper, but it's also because when you are using your pen and paper, another part of your brain that becomes active, because it slows you down. It connects you to what you feel, and words that come out are much more deeper and much more profound. And even if it's just a few words that you are writing, it's okay, but still write with pen and paper rather than type it on your phone or on your computer. It will make a huge, huge impact, my dear friends. I really, really suggest journaling, which is a very, very easy thing to do, and it won't take much time. Again, if you cannot do the self-reflection 5-6 minutes, you can do the journaling, because this journaling is a way of self-reflection. It's just another way to do the self-reflection. So this is something that you can also consider, and I am very, very sure that it will help you to realize many, many wonderful things about yourself. Uh, and especially when you track it over a period of time. When you track it over a period of time, it will show you the important themes that are coming back to you again and again. And this especially is true when you have dreams, and profound things happen in dreams. Another way to do swadhyaya that is recommended is what we call questioning sensibly. Vedanta Deshika calls it Prashnakala Pratikshaha, asking the appropriate question in the appropriate moment to the appropriate person. You sometimes we just have, again, in the name of freedom, we are doing nonsensical things like ask whatever we want, whatever comes to our mind, we just talk. We just talk whatever comes to our mind. And we ask whatever comes to our mind, we ask. That's not prashna kala pratikshaha. It is to ask appropriately. It is to ask appropriately the right question. And this is where we have to ask ourselves the questions like, what are really our wants? What are our needs? What uh, what are the, whether we are acting things because of dharma, or whether we are acting things because of desires. Very often this is what we are not sure about. We are often what we call acting out of desires and instincts rather than out of dharma. And so these are things that we have to ask ourselves question, are we in the right path? Are we behaving with entitlement, or are we behaving in the appropriate context, in the appropriate moment? Is our question even appropriate to the right person, or are we just asking random people random questions? I mean, sometimes, I mean, I find it very, very strange that sometimes I've seen people coming to my father and asking him which is the best restaurant in Chennai. My father is not an expert in that topic. I mean, that's a totally useless question to ask him, because they should ask him question about yoga, not about which restaurant is the best. But sometimes this is what happens. We are so senseless. So we're not reflecting on the things that we are doing, the things that we are saying, that the things that we are behaving. So this is where questioning our actions, don't question other people's actions. This is what we have all become experts in. We've all become experts in questioning other people. And sometimes this is so strange for me, because I have even my own students who are questioning my action. When I criticize something about their behavior, then they point back to me and say, but you are doing blah, 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 you are doing blah, blah, blah. Well, for that, I have my teacher, my mentor. I don't need my student to point out my mistakes to me. I have my teachers to do that, right? So this is also what is called inappropriate, because that's a way of distracting themselves from their own flaws. That's a defense mechanism. We don't look at our own flaws. We direct it to somebody else, like saying, hey, you are also making a mistake. When father or mother points out a mistake, we say, but you're also doing the same. Well, they may be doing the same, but we also have to acknowledge that we have this responsibility as well. So the roles are very important, where we are asking the question to whom and how we respond. This is where questioning ourselves becomes very important. We have to always question ourselves, especially for important decisions in life. Important decisions in life. Sometimes small decisions like buying a coffee, I don't think it's a major issue whether you buy a cappuccino or a cafe latte. That's not a life-changing decision. It could be for somebody, but not generally. But if you have to make some important decisions as to which job you should do, or which kind of partner you would like to be with, or which kind of family structure you want to create for your life, what is your dharma, those kind of bigger questions, it's important to ask yourself some questions. And very often people don't ask this question. They ask stupid questions. They ask questions to avoid. Sometimes, I mean, like recently, I do a chanting program where some people have to follow certain rules, and people are asking all questions of how to break the rules rather than how to follow the rules. What they don't realize is the reward risk model. What they will gain as a reward from making those small sacrifices is much more precious than these things that we are attached to. And that is what people don't realize. So they're very attached to these small things, and they're like, oh, but I want to have one pizza for once a year, or oh, I want to have a sip of alcohol once a year. Is that so important? That's the question, right? So the reward risk people don't have. That's why we are at a very low level, and therefore we don't deserve high level teaching. That is why this kind of questioning is very important, because they test us whether we become meritus for, we're meriting a higher teaching, a higher value teaching. All these are things that come from self-questioning. Why can't I give up alcohol? Why can't I give up meat? Why can't I do this? It's more important than why are you asking me to do that? Why are you asking me to? That's not the important question. The question is, what can I do to be better? Why can't I do that? What will I lose if I give this up? Actually, nothing. I mean, I gave up sugar a few years ago. I've lost nothing except weight, which is fine. You know, all that I've gained is so wonderful thing. So this is one thing which is very, very important. Questioning. Ask yourself the questions of profound things. Don't ask other people the questions. Ask yourself the question about profound things. The only person you should ask profound things, questions, is your teacher, your mentor, and that's very, very important. But even then, ask sensible questions. Another way to do Swadhyaya is reflect on your own thoughts. Very often, even though we keep our mind quiet, we keep our mouth quiet, we keep our mind busy. The silence of the mind is much more difficult than the silence of our mouth. It's so easy to shut up. For some people, it's not. They love their own voice, and God bless such people. I try to stay away from such people. The silencing of the mind is much more important, and that's why reflect on your thoughts. Why are you thinking about scenarios that are not even real yet? Like we worry about the future. Oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? Well, we cannot control what will happen tomorrow. We cannot control what will happen tomorrow. You see, the year ending, the last year ending, you see two horrible things that happen in the world. One is in Korea and one is in New Orleans. I mean, a lot of people who died in Korea were just returning home from Christmas holidays from Thailand to Korea. They were coming on a plane back home, and the plane crashed and everybody died except two people. I mean, they never planned what would happen tomorrow. The same in New Orleans when the New Year's Day, everybody went to party in the street called Bourbon Street in New Orleans. It's a very popular street. And some maniac drove a car into many of these people and killed them. You can't predict the future. So why worry about things that are not real? Oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? What if that? Our life is not always a chess game. You have to strategize in a chess game, yes, but life is not a chess game. So if we unnecessarily are thinking, then that's not healthy, because when we are usually thinking a lot, it's usually negative. It's very, very rare that overthinking is associated with positive thoughts. It's very, very rare. You reflect about it for a moment. How many of you have really overthought for positive things? Actually, the answer will be zero, very, very close to zero. We usually overthink for negative things, especially when we are stressed, when we are anxious. That's when we think about negative things. So reflect on those kind of thoughts and remove those thoughts. Replace them with some positive feelings. I don't even want to say positive thoughts. Replace it with positive feelings. In such moments, connect with positive feelings that you have. Like, for example, have a memory of you with your child that made you happy. Okay, connect with that. Or with your partner and that you are happy, connect with that. Or yourself alone in the beach or in the mountain where you were having a good time, connect with those feelings. Stay with those feelings, because overthinking is always negative. So reflect on your thoughts, especially the too many thoughts, and replace it with positive feelings, because those feelings are real. And very often you will see that in the beginning, this will be a struggle, because a lot of people who think a lot often are unable to feel, because the mechanism of the mind has taken over. The mechanism of the mind has taken over. So they find it very difficult to feel. So it may be difficult in the beginning, but don't give up. Try. and continue. Continue. So this is another way to reflect on your thoughts. Whenever too many thoughts are coming, when you get anxious, connect with feelings, because that is reality. Just this afternoon, we were talking in the Yoga Sutra class about another important topic, which Yoga Sutra calls pravritti. This is another way for Swadhyaya, another place for Swadhyaya. Watch what you are drawn to and what you are avoiding. Like sometimes we are drawn to some things, and then sometimes we avoid some things. Like I'm drawn to photography, but I am avoiding lots of places like museums. That's so there's a movement from the past that is pushing me in one direction or not in another direction. Now, why am I drawn to this and not drawn to this? When I make deeper reflection, I may find something about myself. There may be some traumatic experience that I had that is making me avoid some things, or there may be some positive experiences that I have that is pushing me towards some things. So, in a way, when we reflect on what we are drawn to, what we avoid, we start to realize more about ourselves. This is even true to the kind of people we are drawn to, the kind of people we tend to avoid. This reflection can reveal a lot about ourselves, because which kind of friends we have, which kind of family members we are drawn to, which kind of family members we avoid, shows something about our nature at an unconscious level. That's also Swadhyaya, not only to realize what is obvious, but more importantly, to realize what is non-obvious. So this is a very important reflection, what kind of things we are surrounded with. Like when you go to somebody's house, for example, you may see that, like if you come to my house, I have a collection of cameras and all things that are related with photography. Somebody else may have art and paintbrush and calligraphy equipment. Somebody else may have sport equipment. Somebody else may have like 300 pairs of shoes. Uh, why they have this is because of some pravritti. There's something that is moving them in that direction. That shows something about that person. Reflect on that. You will understand more about yourself deeper. It's another way to practice Svadhyayam. The last thing is watch your kids. Watch your kids or your family members, how they are. They are a mirror of how you are. Very often I see many young children. They are basically the mirror of the parents. Sometimes when I interact with some young kids, young people, I can easily see how the parents are, because children are a great mirror. Praja cha swadhyaya pravachane cha. You see your kids, if you don't have kids, how you interact with young people who are close to you, like your animals, for example, if you see. And this also, sometimes I've heard a lot of animal doctors have told me that the problems of the pets are usually the problems of the owners. So this is also a reflection. This is in some way our kids, right? The animals are our kids. So when you look, that's a mirror. How, if your kids are indecisive, it's because you have taught them to be indecisive. If your kids are lacking confidence, it's because you have taught them to lack confidence. If your kids are aggressive and agitated and angry, it's because you are teaching them those kind of things, encouraging them in a certain way, either by example or by observation. They learn from you who you are, they learn from you. And that's why the children itself is the best way, a very good mirror for us on how we are and who we are and what we can learn from that about ourselves. But for all this, we need to have reflection. And for reflection, we need to keep our heart open, very quiet mind, because when mind becomes quiet, it becomes a still lake, and therefore that lake becomes a reflective lake. If the mind is full of waves, like the lake is full of waves, the reflection will not be healthy. That's why Swadhyaya is not intellectual, it's to shut the intellect, to shut the mind, and go to your heart. That's why chanting is such a powerful tool, because in chanting, we are listening and repeating, thereby creating a silence of the mind. When you learn how to listen, you are helping the mind to become more quiet. So that's why chanting is such a powerful tool, because that teaches us to quieten the mind. In fact, that is what is Chitta Vritti Nirodha Samantraka. The mantra is the best way to practice Chitta Vritti Nirodha according to the Vedic tradition. So these are all ways through which we can practice Swadhyaya. Now, what happens as a consequence of Swadhyaya? Patanjali says, Swadhyayat Ishta Devata Samprayogaha. You will get connected to the deity of your choice. The deity of your choice. Now, this may seem like a strange sutra, but it is not so strange, because we need to understand something more deeper. So, for example, the result of Swadhyaya, when you know what is the mean to know your true self, is to know your Swadharma. When you know your Dharma, that is what is Swadhyaya. The realization of your Dharma. Now, when you know your Dharma, you know that achieving your Dharma is not going to be easy. Dharma is not what is easy. Dharma is what is right. In modern time, we are asked to choose the easy path. That's not dharmic, that's adharma. So when we have to choose the difficult path, we need some help. We need some support that will help us in this difficult path. Now, that is where the deity comes in. For example, in my tradition, in my path, Hayagriva is my chosen deity, Ishtadevata, because that deity gives me the strength, the metaphor, the symbolism of Hayagriva, which is to fight with the dark demons, Madhu and Kaitabha. They are the ones who are trying to destroy spirituality. They had to be fought by Hayagriva to restore traditional spiritual knowledge. So when I realize that this is my dharma and I'm also battling dark forces, I need some spiritual power to help me overcome this, and therefore this devata is more suitable for me. For some other dharma, some other devata will be more suitable. So when you realize your dharma, the deity that will support your dharma will also become apparent, and you will have a strong bond with that deity. For some of you who don't know who is Hayagriva, please refer to our newsletter that we have put out, because we just wrote a story on Hayagriva on that newsletter. It's a very simple story, is the deity of our tradition. So focus on the dharma will reveal to us the deity of our choice. That will get revealed. Whoever is that deity will get revealed. So this is what Patanjali says, Svādhyāyāt Ishta Devata Samprayoga. You develop a very close relationship with the chosen deity. So, but that's one level, but the step before that is that you will realize what is your dharma. The result of Svādhyāya is the realization of what is your dharma. You will know what is the purpose for which you are born. So this, my dear friends, is the topic of Svādhyāya. I hope you have learned something from this and you will put it into practice. In the chat screen, I have shared the newsletter of our this month's newsletter where we talk about Hayagriva. You may click on that link to see the online version of the newsletter and read about Hayagriva. And since we talked about mantra, we are also having a course on mantra and pranayama this year. It's still possible to join that. So if some of you are interested, please feel free to join as well. Okay. Let's conclude with a small chant, my dear friends, and we will conclude today's session with that chant. Om. ऋतञ्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च सत्यञ्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च तपश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च दमश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च शमश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च अग्नयश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च अग्निहोत्रञ्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च अतिथयश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च मानुषञ्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च प्रजा च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च प्रजनश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च प्रजातिश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च सत्यमिति सत्यवचाराथेतरः तप इति तपो नित्यपौरुषिष्टिः स्वाध्याय प्रवचने एवेति नाको मौद्गल्यः तद्धितपस्तद्धितपः ॐ Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste, friends. Namaste, and see you next month.